Okay, let's show you how the checker editor works and how you can create rules checkers for checkmate execution. So let's come over here and let's use this part. Menu, analysis, checkmate, and it's called checker editor. You may notice that this looks very similar to any other logic editor application. Perhaps you've used MBD or algorithmic modeling. The top area is your rules canvas. The bottom area is your parts area. You have a search node up in the upper left, and in the lower left you have your nodes tree. A view tab will allow you to control your view. Let's begin. I want to create a rule that finds blend features. So to begin with, I'm going to use my search bar to find the word blend. Get blend radius has come up. If I hover over it, I get a great tooltip, and it'll explain exactly what this option will do for me. And yes, it does look like what I'm looking for. So I can come down to the Get Blend Radius. If I click on it, I can drag it up to my canvas area. And now I've got a node in the canvas area that I can begin working with. In order to get a blend radius, I've got to get it first from a list of features. So let me type the word feature up here, and I can get either browsable features, okay, or I could have gotten suppressed features, but I think the browsable features is what I'm after. This time, instead of clicking and dragging, I can double click, and if I double click, it'll do the same thing. It'll move that node to my canvas area. Let's rearrange these because I think this is the order that I'm going to want to see those in. Now, the spheres or the circles here that you see are called ports, and we can connect ports by clicking, and what it'll do is it'll connect with a link. On the left-hand side are inputs, and on the right-hand side are your outputs. Okay, so one of the things that I'd like to do with this rule that I'm creating is, instead of just finding the blend radius, I'm going to make it so that I can find blend radiuses and control what size blend radiuses that I find. So I want to find all those that are greater than a certain value. So in order to do that, I'm going to need a logical node. So let me type in the word greater. And again, the search is going to be your best friend here. So I can see I've got one called greater than. And if I double click it, that'll bring it up here. Now, let's see, I want to output of this list goes into here, but you notice on the ports, if you use your right mouse button, you get some functions that you can act on, and one of those is called create input. If I select that, it creates that input for me. So what am I greater than? What is that value? It's B. B doesn't mean a whole lot, so let's go ahead and let's rename that, right? So I'm going to say than. This way, if I see it again in a dialog, it'll mean a lot more to me. Okay, now we're going to need some type of a list to catch this information. So I'm finding blend radiuses, and I'm going to be able to filter on them any blend radius that's greater than a certain value. But now I'm going to need to catch those, and so let's list with Logic Editor knows that there are an awful lot of lists in the Logic Editor. Everything works on a list. The more that you work with the Logic Editor, the more that you'll come to understand the difference between the lists. Again, the tooltips is a great source of information. As you hover over it, it'll explain exactly what that specific list is used for. Okay, so for now, the results of this is going to go into this pattern, and I know that the output here, I want to go into this list here, And now I can say the output of this list goes into this object. Now I'm going to want to write a message. Again, I can use my create input. Let's just pull this down here. And what do I want to say? I am going to say that we are... Now, since this is a checker, I've got to tell it what kind of a log type it is. Is this a pass, fail? Or in this case, is it just an information? So I'm just looking to gather information, okay? Now, remember that I said on ports, if you click on a port, you can get information. And let's do that. Let's click on this true port here and say display data. And if I say display data, well, it's telling me that the output of this list is really got two separate blend radiuses. So that's telling me that the logic that I've used thus far at this point is working correctly. So I'm pretty comfortable that the check that I've just written is going to work well. So with that in mind, I'm going to come up here and save this checker. Now I can give it a category name and I can key that information in, or we've given you the option to use this folder view and you can actually just pick where you want to save it. So let's put it in rules checker. So it's going to be in Checkmate logical rules, rules checker, get information, it's modeling, okay? Let's put it there. We'll call this, the name of it, find blend. Say OK, finish, and just like that, we've written our first checker rule. Now let's go ahead and let's exercise this, make sure we did it right. So if we come in our developer, tests, remember where we put it. I said checker rule, get information, modeling, and we called it find blend feature. Let's add it to the tests. Now, if I take a look at the customize, remember we changed the B to something that meant something, and we did that so now it says blends that are greater than, and we could change the value if we wanted to right there, or here's the message that we put, but for now let's just say OK. Let's execute. Get this out of the way, take a look, and sure enough it found two blend features, one there and one there. We have just written our first Checkmate checker rule without writing a single line of code.